to Germany and France, where the farmers have been staging a unique protest by taking their their tractors out on the streets to mark their protest against the government's agricultural policies. They've been blocking traffic, creating chaos on the streets. What they say is that the government's policies are going against their basic businesses, and their living standards are being affected as well. Our correspondent Ira Spitzer is now joining us from Berlin. Thousands of farmers have been taking to the streets there in their own unique way. Give us a better sense of what the authorities are saying at this point, because either side remains firm, and the government insists that the farmers must take into account the fact that the policies are only aimed at improving the environmental condition.
Right. Well, unusual scenes in the streets of Paris today and yesterday in Berlin. Here, you had thousands of farmers who drove their tractor directly to the center of the city. In Paris, you have similar scenes happening right now. And what these farmers are concerned about is a number of things, but one of the main issues they have is some of the plans by the governments of these two countries to cut the levels of the weed killer glyphosate that they are allowed to use, and the countries would do this for environmental reasons. They also have an issue with some limits that are being proposed on their fertilizer use. They say that they are going to bear the brunt of these environmental measures, and that they haven't really been given any sort of alternative. So here in Germany as well as in France, they are taking the streets to let people know about the issues that they're concerned about. Whether the general public is amenable to these concerns is an open question right now.
Right, and the authorities also say that these policies have been introduced only to make sure that the farmers ultimately do not bear the brunt of the environmental changes, and that's the motive in the longer run. The farmers, of course, are not pacified. Over the next few days, do we see the farmers making more attempts to reach out to the authorities? What's their plan looking like?
Well, I think the initial phase of the plan is what we're seeing right now, just letting the public as well as the government know that they are not happy. Here in Germany, the federal government led by Chancellor Angela Merkel has said that she plans to meet with farmers in the month of December to work on some of these proposals to try and get them involved in crafting a plan. And the farmers I spoke with didn't really dispute the idea that environmental protection is important. You know, as farmers, they are very connected to the environment. Climate change has negatively affected them. But I think what they really object to is these plans being made without their participation. So if they could be given some sort of assistance, or at least alternatives to, for instance, using the weed killer glyphosate that will not harm their business to almost an existential extent, then they say they would be open to that. But right now they really feel, I think, like they're bearing the brunt of this battle against environmental problems, and they really are not happy about it.
All right, we're going to leave it there for the moment. Thanks very much for all of those updates there. The farmers, of course, unrelenting, and the initial phase will see more and more farmers coming out on the streets with their tractors in France and Germany.